Good afternoon, my friends. I'm so delighted that you are here today. It is time for another episode of Get to Know Them. I am your host, Monica Graves, broadcasting live from my studio space in sunny Burlington, Ontario. And for those of you who might be tuning in for the first time, I am a local jewelry designer, and over COVID, I decided to start a talk show, which has always been a dream of mine because I know so many awesome people with amazing stories. And since I've been doing the talk show, it's just grown and grown, and people refer me to other people with great stories. And so I have well over 100 interviews now on gettoknowthem.ca, which you can check out at any time. And these stories are great. I want you to feel inspired. I want you to just relax and enjoy listening to our guest today. I'm going to introduce you in just a minute. But before I do that, wanted to let you know a couple of housekeeping things. So today is actually the last episode for this season, and I will be back here again with new episodes in November and new guests. But there's lots and lots of amazing people who I've interviewed over the years. So you'll have all summer to catch up. I'm even thinking of doing a fun little rerun reel, kind of, an ode to the 80s. We loved our reruns in the summer, didn't we? Anyways, so I'll be doing that. Now, there are a couple of show sponsors that we have and we've had since we started that I would love to introduce you to. So my first show sponsor, who has been with me since the very beginning, is the wonderful Brenda Badome, located in Toronto, Ontario. Her website is brendabadome.com, and every show she dresses me in her beautiful clothing. And she also has a coupon code for us, Get to Know Them. When you use that coupon code, she'll give you 20% off your order. A couple of newer sponsors. One is Scooters. You can check out Scooters at scooters.ca. This is a place I love to hang out on Thursday nights, and it is a roller rink right here just outside of Oakville, right at the beginning of Mississauga on Royal Windsor Drive. The rink is still open. It's been there since the 70s. It hasn't changed much. So if you are interested in walking through a portal to the 80s and all of the wonderful things that we had in those years, Scooters is a place where you can still do that. So check them out at scooters.ca. If you haven't been roller skating since the 70s or the 80s, I highly recommend that you take one of their lessons, and their lessons are Thursday nights at 7 p.m. 1 hour of your time will make a world of difference to get your confidence back with roller skating. And our next sponsor is a friend of mine, Chantel Ingram, who owns Flourish and Basque. Flourishandbasque.ca is the website. Again, you can use the coupon code Get to Know Them for 10% off your order. Chantel has a wonderful assortment of alcohol-free beverages and beautiful stemware. You can go check out her shop in downtown Oakville or shop from her website, and the coupon code is valid for both, so make sure you use that. And last but not least, I am also a sponsor of the show with my business, Glam Jewels, GLAMJULZ.com. And many of you know my pieces. We create a lot of custom pieces for women from all different walks of life, but a big part of our business is giving back to community and creating lovely fundraising pieces. So if you have a cause that you are passionate about and you want to work with us to create something that you can sell and raise money for, please reach out. The program is super easy. It doesn't require any money up front. We are here to support you and help to make your community a better place. So reach out anytime. Now, are you guys ready to meet our guest today? For the last episode of the season, we have the most perfect guest, a woman I just met recently who I absolutely love, and she is doing wonderful, wonderful things for young girls. Her name is Gina Faubert, and she runs a camp for girls called Radiant Girls. I'm going to read you her whole bio, and you're going to get to know her today. And you're going to get to know why she started this camp and what it all means to her. So, Gina is a health and wellness coach dedicated to empowering others to live their best life. She founded Radiant Leadership Foundation and has been coaching and training for over 25 years. She has continued to build upon her health and wellness education from George Brown, becoming a certified master coach and a certified trainer of NLP, MER, and hypnotherapy, CBT, and DBT. She has since become a licensed manual osteopath and holds certifications in exercise science, nutrition, Pilates, and yoga. Through her years of training, coaching, and facilitating events for Olympic athletes, sports teams, camps, and schools, she's created a system for inspiring young girls to reach their full potential. She is known for her ability to connect to girls easily, deliver life changing events, inspiring workshops, and impactful coaching sessions. Gina holds memberships with ACMS, IFPM, and ICF, and is on the advisory board for George Brown College's Health Sciences programs. Gina is just one of 100 top coaches working with Robbins Research International, Tony Robbins' company. She has certified therapists and coaches in neuro-linguistic programming throughout North America and has presented health and wellness presentations and events for over a dozen Fortune 500 companies. She regularly accepts coaching clients referred through the Children's Aid Society, the Reach Out Center for Kids. Her passion for making a difference drives her to continue to study with the best minds in psychology and health worldwide. Gina is currently preparing for another amazing summer as she provides empowerment to young girls with her Radiant Girls summer camp programs. Are you guys ready to meet Gina? Yeah. Here she comes. Gina.
Hi.
Oh, girl, do you ever sleep? Is my first question.
No, not much. I know it sounds
Wow.
so crazy, but I just love what I do. So, and I'm just hungry for more. So, when I hear people read off my bio, it seems like I'm a nut, but I'm just a love.
Wow.
And I'm in school right now. Like I just can't stop. I just love it. So,
Oh, that is so great. I love your bio. It really shows how, you can love one thing and then it sparks like all these different, avenues and facets. And yeah, it's amazing. And I have to ask you because I ask all my guests this question, which I know will be a question dear to your heart since you work with so many young girls, is what did little Gina want to be when she grew up? Did you have an entrepreneurial thought back
oh
then,
my
or
God, I brought a picture because I knew you were going to ask this question. So, let's see if you can see this.
oh my goodness, look at you.
I
I
want
love it.
Wonder Woman. Isn't that what all little girls want to be?
That's perfect. Oh,
Retro. Look at the lights. Look at the strawberry
oh
shortcake
my
in the
God.
background. Like it was like we had the brown and orange furniture back then, you know.
Perfect. That is so great. And it's so funny when I met you, I was thinking you were in your 30s, like you really like you carry that beautiful energy of your young, passionate, curious self, like, and it shows in everything about you. I think it's
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had like aside from Wonder Woman, I thought I wanted to be like a stewardess on a plane or, I mean, I really like as I got into the later years of, I think this was a picture of me like at 5 or something like that. But
Yeah.
at like 9 or 10, I just started thinking like there were people in my life that were suffering. And I just thought,
Mm.
what makes people like, we all run into really hard things, like what causes us to get through those and thrive. And and so that's kind of where you see all my sparks in different directions, because it's like, is it physical, is it nutrition, is it our environment, is it our psychology? Like, what is it that causes us to do what we do? And when I meet people and they've got something going on, my brain is like, okay, we got to change their nutrition, but how do you get them to eat differently if they're not feeling good about that? And so what's holding them back there? And so my brain is constantly thinking about all the different facets of health and wellness to cause people to kind of move through and out of, stuck places. And
Yeah.
that's what kind of caused raising Radiant Girls too. It was like, well, what if we learned this when we were 10, instead of like
Mhm.
figuring it out at 30, 40, 50? Like, what if we could
Right.
plant some seeds like right at the beginning and just bypass half of that, suffering? So that's kind of the essence of all this crazy, all these sparks that I've gone, all these
Yeah.
paths I've gone down, and I keep flopping between physical health and psychology, like, because one affects the other.
Mhm.
And so, and there's so much to learn in both of those fields these days, like, just it's nonstop.
Yeah. It's so great. I mean, I don't know if you saw, did you see recently the Oprah special? Where it's actually on YouTube, and the topic is all the pressure about, that a lot of women and girls have gone through to like be a certain size, lose weight, young girls at 9, 10, 11 years old going on Weight Watchers and those kinds of things. And now in retrospect, like looking at the damage that it's done, and I wish I could remember the name of the actor, but anyway, one woman was on and she was saying, there's a real crisis because women who are viewed as being overweight or not in that perfect whatever visual, they don't get as many job opportunities. They're looked at as somebody who's out of control, who can't be trusted. Like there's all this negativity and garbage, like and I think it's so cool, like what you're doing, and what we're hearing more and more out there, where people are like just blowing this stuff up and like, let's talk about it and let's talk through it, because it's all a bunch of BS. Like
Yeah.
we all have the right to feel good,
Yeah.
and it's so amazing. I mean, what you're doing for young girls too, it's a different time than when we grew up. You and I, when you came to visit me, we kind of talked briefly about, how we were, as kids on our bikes. Our parents had no idea where we went. And then we'd come home when the street lights went on, which is so cliche. Everybody says that about Gen X. And now you're taking young girls on adventures where they're like, oh my God, don't leave me alone. And
Yeah.
what are, yeah. So like, maybe I'm jumping ahead here, Gina, but I'm just like, what are sort of some of the things that you see in working with these young women?
Yeah, it's certainly changed over, like, I've been running Radiant Girls programs for, I think this is our 14th year. And when we started, I was running a retreat center, and I had mom saying, "Oh my God, my kid needs to learn, mindfulness and how to make a healthy smoothie and how to, do yoga." And now a lot of kids know that stuff. They're being taught it in school. And so it's evolved. I was introducing kids to quinoa. Now they all know what quinoa is. Like, it's
Wow.
pretty cool, right? So
Yeah.
there is a lot that has progressed, but particularly since COVID, there's a lot less, there's a lot more anxiety. There's a lot less independence, just to be on their own and away from their phone, and to be curious, to, you know, just daydream. It's just not something that is common. And when we started, we didn't start with this idea of, having this girls empowerment type of program. It was a bunch of moms that wanted me to teach their kids stuff. And my studio had like white carpets and we played spa music. And I was like, camp? Like, I don't know about camp. Like that's a lot of pressure and I don't know much about kids. And I never went to camp when I was a kid. And it was this evolution of like people asking. And then there was a few other things that were popping up and, just people kind of it being introduced to my life that sparked that. And then I had this one woman show up as you mentioned, I was on the advisory board for George Brown. So she found me and she's like, I really want to work with you, but I don't know, like, I just want to learn from you. And at the time, I was doing a lot of private one-on-one sessions, and they were either people with, well, I still do chronic pain or Olympic athletes. And, I can't have like a sidekick in my one-on-one sessions. And so I said, well, I don't know. And she said, well, I'm in university. I've not really, I don't really have any skills, but I've learned nutrition and yoga and meditation. And I said, well, bring your resume in and I don't know, we'll figure something out. Like, I don't know what, there's got to be a spot for you. You're a cool person. Let's do something together. And she brings in a resume, and she had been a camp counselor for like 4 years in a row. And I was like, okay, the universe is trying to tell me, like, everybody's asking and now you have somebody. And I said, well, what if we threw a camp together? And it was all about, health and wellness for kids. And she just lit up. And I said, I've never done this before. I don't know how it's going to come together. It's like, I don't really know what I'm getting into. You're going to have to introduce all the camp songs and games and things like that, because I don't know anything about that. And she was like, done, we'll do it. And we put it out there. Our first week was a co-ed week, and our second week was all girls. And the first week was the boys were running laps and the girls were putting the beads on the strings, and having their little
Yes.
and the energy was chaotic. It was just kind of like, okay. And the second week it was all girls. And I thought, okay, this is cool, because we were all just kind of clicking and connecting and chatting. And we had some really, intimate, like conversations about girl stuff. And I thought, when do we actually have an opportunity when we're, somewhere between the ages of 8 and 12, those formative years, where we're sharing what's really going on with someone other than our mom, and with someone who is a mentor, and in an environment where we feel safe and heard and can get good guidance. I mean, we'll share with our friends, or there'll be teachers around, but we won't really share fully. I thought, wow, there's something really important about this. And so that's just how it happened. And it's not, I know sometimes the perception is like, it's like girl power, but it's not. It wasn't like, in fact, if you ask an 8-year-old or 9-year-old, like, if they think that they're inferior to boys in some way, like, they don't calculate that, because they haven't been exposed to that. And so I thought, who am I to tell them that they got to fight for being equal, or fight for your rights, right? Like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You're absolutely right.
So our whole thing isn't like, to be equal. It's all about, or like that feminist sort of angle. It's really just about how can we bring out the best in them, and then also create this environment so that they can really develop some trust in adults that are caring for them and are mentors for them, and also being surrounded by others who, in an environment they can really bond. So that's what's really special about what we do. Like, and it just happened organically. And every couple of years I think, okay, that was fun. Like, it kind of ran its course. Like when I sold my studio, I thought, okay, that's the end of, my studio and all the things that I did there. And I had moms going, oh, I found you a space to run camp, and we've negotiated the rent, and, with this and that. And okay, all right. And, so that kind of happened. And then we started playing around with adding other locations, like an overnight and a horse thing. And And then COVID happened, and I thought, oh, I'm going to have a summer off, like, for the first time in 10 years. This will be fun. And then it was like, no, 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 the girls need you. You got to do something virtually. And so we figured out how to run virtual programs. And that was actually really cool because we had kids from like Calgary and New York
Mm,
and all over, all over North America.
yeah,
It was like kids that were like, oh, this is the first time I'm meeting a Canadian.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so it was a completely different environment, and we just keep, things just keep flowing. It's a passion project,
Yeah.
but it has a mind of its own. It has a momentum that, like, I'm the founder, but really
Mhm.
something else is moving this mission forward, and I'm just kind of going for the ride. And it's been a ride. It's been,
Yeah,
every season I'm like a little bit nervous because I'm, going to spend the summer with a bunch of, 15, 20 kids.
yeah.
And the first week is teens. And, if you told me 15 years ago I'd be spending like a week with teenage girls, I would be like scared. Like that's
Yeah,
a crazy idea. What do I know about, influencing teenage girls? And by the end of the week, it's just, oh my God, like the shifts
yeah.
in their confidence, their abilities, their connections. It's just like, okay, that's why I do what I do. And every week I'm in tears just thinking like, wow, that was
Wow.
so cool that I get to do that. So yeah, it's
Oh,
been a crazy ride.
that's amazing. So, how many what year is this that you're going into now?
I think this is 14.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, when you go on your beautiful website, which is awesome, you have all kinds of different programs. So,
Mhm.
can you kind of tell us about the different programs that you
Yeah,
run
sure.
there? Because it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we started with like health and wellness. So we have like our what we call our classic wellness, which is, teaching them about nutrition, mindfulness, yoga and Pilates, moving your body. And then we have the basic elements of coaching, which is confidence and all those layers of self-worth. We have included more and more on social media and the impacts of filters and all sorts of crazy stuff that you can do now online that kind of shift your perspectives. Um,
Mhm.
but I found that I love variety, and the messages are somewhat the same, in terms of the values that we teach. And we can do that in a group environment in just about any context. So we have a girl boss week,
Mhm.
where they build a store and they make products for the store. And you'll be a part of that this year. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to have you be a part of that. We bring in experts to kind of show them how to make stuff or talk about their journey of becoming an entrepreneur, and or what the struggles they went through in kind of going through things. And these kids make stuff, and then they set up a store, and the process of that, they're learning teamwork, communication, how to stand in front of a camera and talk, about what they did.
Mhm.
We tie everything in that particular week, with the Rock, the Reach Out Center for Kids. So they
Okay.
get to visit the Rock and they get to see their impacts on their community and how raising money gives back to other kids. And so they get to start to think about contribution, and particularly for girls that are going through anxiety and depression, when they start thinking outside of themselves, they can
Mhm.
bust through some of those fears and some of those limitations. But when they start to feel like they made a difference, that's, if you can learn that at 10 years old, I mean, that
Yeah.
just has momentum where, I'm getting emails and messages from kids that are like in their late teens or early 20s, and they're like, oh, that camp taught me this, and now this is what I've done in the world. And it's just like, oh my God, I just plant a seed, and they've taken it and run with it.
Yeah.
So, but the elements of those fundamental lessons are the same no matter what the theme is. We have a spa week, which is like an inner beauty, and we have photography and improv and using your voice and like all kinds of interesting elements that come into play. We have an empowerment week, and so they have adventures and they learn self-defense, and it's just finding interesting, exciting ways to engage them, and
Yeah.
weaving these lessons through the plan. So I don't know. I come from a non-camp world, and I look at it going, what are the elements? What are the things that they need to be exposed to and hear and learn? And then I bring other people in to say, how can we make that fun? Like, how can we make that an experiential experience as opposed to
Yeah.
maybe a typical traditional camp where it's like, okay, let's play dodgeball and then let's lounge over here, and it's just,
Yeah.
if we're playing a game, it's like, why are we doing this? What are we teaching? What are they walking away from? Like, what is it that they're really getting from this? So I
Yeah.
think of it more like a personal development program, and everything that I've learned in psychology, coaching, NLP, I kind of put into a framework that girls can understand at 10, 12 years old, and use it as their sort of foundation to move into their teen years. Because
Wow.
those teen years are tough, like,
Yeah.
especially today. Like, they're going through so much. And
Exactly.
you know, I get teachers that in the middle school that are like, I don't know how to support these kids. Like, and so,
Mhm.
and the parents too. And there's just not enough understanding, not enough support. And I think, as much as we all know it, I think we got to find ways to combat social media, because I think it's really getting
Yeah.
to them. And I think the writing's on the wall with the impacts. And so, yeah, our kids go through a little detox when we take their phones away.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. And you hit the nail on the head when you said, um, taking those kids outside of themselves and like getting them to do something where they're making a difference, they're giving back. Because I mean, that's just the way the brain develops when you're a teenager. Everything is inward focused. That's a natural progression. But then when you take that and then you put social media on top of that, it's disastrous.
Yeah.
And it almost should be against the law that a kid has a phone in their teens, or is
Yeah.
exposed to that. You're too, yeah, you can't even handle it. I mean, I couldn't handle when the yearbook came out and my picture was there. Like, what are people, I remember those feelings. Or if somebody caught you in maybe there's a picture of you in there that you didn't know about, or I don't know. It's got to be awful. So you actually take the phones away when they come to the camp?
Hmm.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so what is like I'm curious to know a couple of things, like the response to that, and also how they move through all of this mindfulness that you're teaching them, because really the mindfulness is flowing through every program.
Hmm.
And as adults now with phones, we are now learning how important mindfulness is, because we're becoming more and more distracted. And I don't know how you feel, Gina, but sometimes I'm like, is this something that's wrong with me, or is it because of this phone that I'm forgetting things? Or you
Hmm.
know as an older person, you're like, is this menopause, or am I actually just screwed up because of the stupid phone?
Yeah. Oh, there's
But
constant, like, attention
yeah,
alerts, and it's like, if you don't have it, you're like, oh, where's my phone? Like, it's this
yeah,
addiction to it. So the kids are like that too. And you can see, this little moment of fear, like, what do you mean I can't have my phone? Well, I need it. And, it's convincing them for the first 10, 15 minutes or so that they're going to be just fine without it. And some of them will sneak it, some of them will, still have it on them, and we just kind of let things unfold. And
Mhm.
when they start to pull themselves away from it, all of a sudden, it's usually about 45 minutes to about an hour in, they finally let go and forget about it. And they're now making eye contact with each other, and they're like present, and they're noticing things like, oh my God, look at that tree, or, check this out. And when you ask them, like, we do some forest bathing, for example, and you like listen
Yeah.
to, what are the sounds that you hear? And, we can layer in, and all of a sudden they're like, and I don't know if, like, when I first started doing this sort of stuff, I was like, they meditated for 3 minutes. That was awesome. And now it's like 10 minutes and they don't want to stop. They're just like that. And every day, are we meditating today? Are we gonna do and I'm just blown away by that, because
Wow.
I never would have guessed that. And maybe I've gotten used to like how to guide them, and and create that environment, but they are just yearning for stillness and for the ability to kind of be clear and calm. and
Mm.
and their nervous systems, like, at first they're lying down, they're all fidgety and, looking around, and we make these little eye pillows, and so they put those on, but they're still like kind of looking out, and checking people out,
Yeah.
like, is this safe, and I don't know about this. And then after a couple of minutes, it's just like, I'm thinking, is anybody like awake still? Have they like, and they just get into the zone. So it's it's
Wow.
it's pretty cool, to be able to see that transition. But
Mhm.
also like the need for their phones. And then the minute that it's time to go home, they, you can just see when they have that glimpse of like, oh, I can have my phone again. Okay, I need to check it. Like, and I need to
Yeah.
be able to get on it. So yeah, I think it's a different world, than it used to be, and they
Mhm.
really do benefit. They become kids again. They become creative.
Mm.
They become like thoughtful and engaging, and they can have conversations. And I think actually that's what, a good camp should be. And I'm
Mhm.
a huge proponent that there shouldn't be phones in schools. I know there's lots of, talk about that with moms these days, but I don't think there's
Yeah.
any need to have a phone in class, like maybe in your locker or in your coat or something like that on the way to and
Yeah.
from school. But even that, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's a main phone line at the principal's office if something,
Yeah.
yeah, I hate to say I always say we got through without it, but yeah, but this is so interesting. I love the mindfulness piece, and I think I can just imagine these young girls and how much they look forward to that meditation, because you're actually giving them permission to let go. And what a great lesson for life, like, and as an adult. There was a really cool thing I saw on my phone the other day on Instagram. And this young woman was talking about how um she has started a thing called Seize the Day. And so every day she gives herself anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour to seize the day, where she turns the phone off, all the distractions off, and does something exciting for herself. That could be having an ice cream and just enjoying every bite of it, and sitting by herself, or doing a meditation, or some one thing in the day that does not involve any of these things that distract us from the beauty of life. And
Yeah.
just to listen to the birds right now is like
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
God. Yeah, this is so great, Gina. And I love that the kids are coming back to you as they're getting older, and giving you that feedback of how the camp helped.
Yeah. Yeah. One of my
Yeah.
favorite things, I just had a conversation with a girl a couple of weeks ago, and she was telling me about her most memorable experience at camp is when I got them lost in the woods. So we do this thing not every week, but The site that we were on for the last number of years, there's all these paths, and there's cottages around the path, and I'll set it up so that, it doesn't seem so crazy, but um,
Mhm.
there's about 3 or 4 paths that go up a hill, and then at the top there's like a circle, and all the paths lead back down and end up,
Mhm.
back at where our campsite. And there's homes and everything around. And as we go through the week, I'm teaching them about teamwork, communication. What do you do when some things don't go your way? When a leader isn't listening to your opinion, how you negotiate, how do you compromise? And we talk about managing your emotions and all these facets that they're going to experience at some point during this hike, where all of a
Mhm.
sudden the leader disappears and they have to figure out what to do. And because this is a hill, it's so easy for me to just slide down the side of the hill and tuck myself behind a bush when nobody's really paying attention. And we have some LITs that are there, but and they know what's coming, but they're
Yeah.
instructed not to participate in the solution unless things are really going sideways. And I can hear everything that's going on. And they do for the next 5 to 10 minutes, they have to figure out what should we do. And
Right.
and they have to they have to work together and decide what path, and do they split up, do they go together, and and they go through the whole series of emotions. And there's some younger kids, there's some older kids, so there's they have to figure out who the leader is and who they're going to listen to, and the whole bit. And um they're not too crazy about it, right? Because this is a scary
Right.
situation. But every path is about 5 minutes from base camp, but they don't know that because they've never been on this path before. So once
Wow.
they make a decision about taking action, 5 minutes later, they end up back in the field where we started, and maybe from a different angle, depending on the path that they chose. And then I'm like, hey, you guys made it out. That was awesome. And at first, some of them are a little bit ticked off because they're like, you left us and we didn't know what to do. And then
Mm.
I said, but how does it feel to have figured it out? And they go, yeah, like that's the first time I've ever been by myself, like that's the first time we've ever been without an adult. And they really had to, they said we had to figure out how to communicate, and we were struggling, and figure out who we're gonna listen to. And they started putting all these things together. And
Mhm.
and sometimes, like, the LATs are like, well, do you think maybe you should listen to each other, or they kind of guide the conversations and get them to
Yeah.
integrate. But at the end of that, they they're celebrating because they feel like, oh my god, I did this hard thing. and
Yeah.
and so what better place to be able to build some of those resilience muscles than in a safe environment. And that's, so half the stuff we do at camp is like with those kinds of intentions of like teaching them lessons and then having them build them, because they don't
Mm.
really have opportunities to do that. I mean, I've
Yeah.
heard some crazy stories, like a kid walking down the street or on their bike at 8 o'clock at night, and you've got people that are calling, police or children's aid, saying like, I don't think that's right that kid's on their own. And it's like, I mean, the Gen
Yeah.
X, they're like, well, the street lights aren't on yet, so what's the
Yeah.
deal? But these kids haven't learned how to trust themselves, and how to listen to that
Mhm.
knowing, and how to build those resilience muscles, and work through some of this stuff. And so, yeah, I think it's really cool to see those, like, just see the
Yeah.
shoulders drop, their chest kind of puff out, and like, just like, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
So it's and so that's, yeah, like, it's a different world. Like, it's yeah,
Yeah. That's
you just
so do
don't think of
do
that.
Yeah, and Gina, like you've done so much work yourself in learning about psychology, and you're obviously fascinated with the psychology of people and what motivates them to do different things. Do you ever look at sort of like you were just saying, you know, at the generations and how we were raised versus how we raise our children, you know? Like I don't have children, so I can't
Yeah,
really speak to that, but it always, you know, it kind of as an outsider looking in, when I see that sort of panic around, oh my God, there's an 8-year-old on a bike and it's, you know, it's 7:30 on or 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Where are the parents and that panic? I'm
yeah,
thinking, didn't you grow up like me, where it was like, go run in the forest and we'll see you whenever? Like you know, it's
yeah,
not that our parents didn't give a crap about us, but I mean, and the world, well, people say the world is more dangerous now. I guess maybe it is, but it was dangerous then too. Like we were taught how to, you know, sort of street smarts, I guess. I don't know anything about it. I shouldn't be
I have a
saying.
motto that that I use and I share in my coaching sessions, and that is, I feel like you know, every kid is different. You got kids that are very bold. You know, if you're the firstborn, you tend to have a little bit more independence. You tend to be um, a little bit more assertive. Not always, but that you know you can. But then you also have some kids that are really introverted or shy, or you know, so there's it. Every kid is different. I think you know, and I watch parents.
Mm,
You know, they have a parenting style, and it works for one kid, but not the other. Sometimes, you know, it's really interesting to
yeah.
watch how that plays out. But my motto is, I'll do for you what you can't do for yourself. When you can do it for yourself, it's no longer my job. And
Right.
so, like, if you're doing stuff like your kid's laundry and they're 12, like, you're not helping them, you know, like,
Hmm.
service, right? If they can
Yeah.
walk to the bus stop, you know, by themselves, then they should be, you know. If you're doing that, it's because you're doing it because you want to spend time with them, or you want to give them some, you know, you're providing a, you know, your service, you're giving of your time, and it's an act of love or caring, but not because you
Hmm.
have to, or because they don't know how to yet. And so that's that's you know, and I feel the same way at camp. Like we have
Hmm.
this little game where they're like, I don't know where that is. And instead of telling them, I'm like, well, where do you think it could be? Or they'll say, like, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, well, what have you tried? And can you try
Yeah.
something else? And it's that bringing out their inner wisdom, their inner strength, and listen to
Yes.
their own voice. And I think the voice of the, you know, we play Simon Says, and I go, who are the Simons in your life that tell you what to do? Why are you listening to them? Like, you know, what makes you think that you should
Oh,
listen to them, you know? And just getting them to stop and think, and then also paying attention to what their gut, you know, especially for women. Like, we know,
yeah.
you know, when we have our self-defense chats and we start talking about that inner knowing or that feeling that you have,
Hmm.
these kids that are 9, 10, 11, they have already felt that multiple times, and they're sharing these examples. Well, let's talk about it, you know, like, why as women do we
Yeah.
not listen, or do we second guess ourselves when we have that, you know, that inner instinct? So, um, yeah, I don't know. I could go
That's
on.
beautiful. Oh my God, no, I could talk to you forever. I love that. Like intuition, it's so powerful, and it is sad that, you know, we kind of like almost learn about it later in life. Like to me, I feel like it's now coming along with getting older and the wisdom and the intuition and all this. Whereas we've, like you say, I mean, I can think of many times in my life where I got myself out of a situation because I listened to my gut and it was like, no, 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 this isn't. And
Yeah,
so even when it's a good feeling, like good or bad, whatever it is, all the feelings are important. You know,
mhm,
yeah, yeah, that's
absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
God, I remember when I was a kid, I was so I loved my Oma. She was like everything to me, and my I always wanted to go visit her, right? And my mom and dad, when I was 14, they said, "Okay, here's the bus. Take this bus to the GO train, get on the GO train, and then your Oma will meet you at Union Station. And then she taught me the subway line. And then within a year, it was like, then I had to take the subway up, you know?
Yeah.
And and it's so good, like what you're doing, like that forest story. That I remember that feeling. I was just like, I got this, man.
Yeah.
And I knew, like, sit with an, sit beside a woman on the bus, like,
Yeah.
you kind of knew how to check out what was going on around you. And
And that's
so
it.
this is so
That's,
good.
you know,
Yeah.
the building of self-esteem, the essence of that is doing something hard. And without
Yeah.
knowing whether you're going to succeed or fail. And so wherever that is, maybe it's just arriving at camp, you're just like, I don't know how this
Mhm.
is going to go, but you get yourself there and you sit down and integrate with the kid next to you, and make a friend. That could build self-esteem. Or it might be the forest experience, or like almost every week at camp
Yeah.
we break a board with our hands. We prepare them, and that's sort of our finale. But everyone, even our counselors are like, I don't know if I could do this. I'm not sure I'm going to break it. It's a thick board, and
Wow.
so, but we like, it's like, well, like, I'm going to show you how. And if you follow the steps, if you follow someone who's having success doing something, and you do
Mhm.
what they do, and you think what they think, the chances of you succeeding are pretty high. You might
Mm.
not, but if you fail, what should you do? And they try
Yeah.
again. And if you fail, what should you do then? Right. And so we're building these lessons, and it's going into something, not knowing what the outcome is, and being comfortable with failing, or with the possibility of failing. That's what builds self-esteem. And these kids don't have opportunities for that these days. There's very few,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
even when you fail, you still get a ribbon, or even when you like have an opportunity, like, oh, this is going to hurt. And it's, I have to say, like, parents are doing their best. They're not trying not to, um, they're not, they're doing, I know as a mom, like, it's constantly that, I
Mhm.
want to, but I'm holding back because I know it's better. It's good for her. But sometimes it's like, oh, my kid just
Yeah.
went to university, and I could have helped pay her way, but instead I made her, take out a loan and get a job, and she's working through it, and she's struggling to figure it all out. And she came back after the first year with like her shoulders back and chest up, like, I got this, and
Oh,
so it was hard to watch, right? It was hard to
yeah.
let her go through those things, and here's some money for groceries, and the odd support. But it
Mhm.
was that theory, like, she can do this. It might not
Yeah.
be, this beautiful, easy ride, but
Mhm.
it's building that confidence. So that's how those lessons are, like, just constantly flowing in camp, and in, in the coaching sessions that go on. And I think that's what kids
Yeah.
really need. There's not many opportunities for that these days.
Yeah, that's so true. So, Gina, do you still have spots for this summer coming up, like
I
for
do.
for
Yeah.
kids to register? Okay, that's great.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
added another wellness week, because the one in June is full. Our leadership academy is filling up. That's almost full. But we've
Mhm.
got spots in our girl boss camp, in our empowerment week, our overnight camp, and we have a teen beach, because this year we're at LaSalle Park, so we have access to the LaSalle Marina. So we have sup
Oh,
paddle
nice.
boarding. We have like a whole this is like this summer is going to be so awesome with that, having waterfront.
Yeah.
Um, and we have a horse week. So we've incorporated horses in leadership, and we've done that for probably the last 8 years or so. And that's,
Wow.
especially for kids that are struggling with social anxiety, post COVID,
Mhm.
especially, or just find it a lot easier to connect with animals. It can be
Mhm.
an incredible experience, not just leadership, but also healing. So we try to find a barn and the right people, and all of that. It's probably our most challenging logistically, but the most
Mhm.
the most transformative, I find anyway. So
Wow,
we
that's
have
great.
thought there. Yeah.
God, so does it go like all the way from June till the end of August? Like different
First
programs are constantly happening.
first
Yeah.
week of July to the end of August, and
Okay. Oh yeah, first week of July. Sorry.
yeah,
Yeah.
and each week
Yeah.
is a different theme. Some of them are more for teens, some of them are for more for like 10 to 13, and
Yeah.
some are for girls as young as 8. So it just, yeah.
Oh,
What I
that's
find is I try to put a bunch of themes that so you can find what appeals to your kid in terms of like, is it horses? Is it, making jewelry? Is it,
hmm
adventures in the woods? Is it making, facials and, and spa type, DIY
hmm
things, whatever sparks them. And then they're going to get those lessons as you integrate
Yeah.
it. So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. So Gina, when the program's all over, what do you do for yourself? Speaking of self-care and
Oh,
what
I
do
think
you do for you after?
at the end of the summer, you mean? Like in
Yeah,
September?
yeah. hmm
Well, my birthday's at the end of the summer, and so we always do some kind of like getaway. And
Nice.
we've usually, like last year, we went to Greece for a couple of weeks.
Oh, lovely. That's amazing. I was hoping you were going to say something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I take a vacation in September or October just to kind of take a breather and put
Yeah.
my feet up and and celebrate, kind of look
Yeah.
back and look at the impact that we've had. And yeah,
Mhm.
I'm so grateful that September is still good weather, so it feels like that's my summer. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
perfect, especially Europe. That's the best time, like September. Oh my God.
yeah,
Yeah. Good. Good for you. That's awesome. Gina, I've loved talking to you. You're so inspiring, and I wish your camp had been around. I think I said that when I met you, when I was a young girl. Yeah, this is so great because, we all need you for sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of these
Yeah.
days I'm going to put a camp together for moms. I keep getting asked to do that. It's like
Yeah.
one of these days.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Oh my God, that would be so good. Like, and I love now, in a lot of talk therapy, it is really about connecting with your inner child and giving her what she needs and, soothing her when she's scared because she's
Yeah,
always there, right? She doesn't go away. So,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing. You're an angel. Oh my God.
Thank you.
So great. Yeah. All right, Gina. Well, I'm going to put you in the virtual green room and I'll be right back to you. But thank you so much for all your time today. And also maybe we'll just say your website out loud here for people who do want to
Yeah.
um,
If
register.
if you go to radiantgirls.ca and under the camps and retreats page, you'll see everything that we've got listed for the summer. Um, and then each one of those, it takes you to a portal with all the info that you would want to know. So yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oh my gosh, what an inspiring woman. Have a great summer and enjoy every moment. Make sure you take lots of time for yourself and just enjoy the beautiful weather, the birds, the flowers, all that stuff. I can't wait to see you back here again in November. And make sure to check out our sponsors, brendabadome.com, scooters.ca, flourishandvasc.ca, and of course my website glamjewels, glamjulz.com. You guys are amazing. Thank you and keep on showing the world your sparkle. Bye for now.